What's good, YouTube? It's Rick the Foxkid here, and I have a deck profile for what I'm going to call my final Tidal Mermail build for the format. I call it that because with the way, with the format winding down, and just like with Nats this weekend in the world, it's in about a month or so, at which point we're just going to get the new list. Any changes I make to Mermail from this point on are probably going to be minimal at most, so there's really no point in me updating it beyond this video. And yeah, I think it's significant enough from my last update, which was right after the regional. I have tried a bunch of different things just to try and make it better, and in the end, it's like some things I tried were great, other things were not so great. So I kind of hit a middle ground. So it's like it is different from what I had before, but not too stupidly different. So I'll get into it. And so, yeah. The monster count is the most I have ever had in a deck, and it is 37 monsters, 1 spell, and 2 traps. Because of that, I'm just going to go through the whole deck in one go, because there's no point in separating in space, especially when the spell and trap lineup is so ridiculously low. So, yeah. So, we have 3 Megalo, 3 Teus, and I'll explain things as to why I came to conclusions for like card counts and stuff after I reveal everything. 1 lead, 3 pike, 2 land, 2 gun. For the landings, you got 3 dragoons, 3 infantry, and 3 marksmen. And then for other waters, you got 3 diva, 3 tidal, and 2 stream. And then other monsters is 3 valor, 3 max C. And then for spell is Book of Moon, and then for traps is 2 abyss sphere. And that's the entire main deck lineup. Truth be told, I'm not the biggest fan of this format anymore. I just don't like how it's devolved. I could go into that for a while, but that's probably for another video, not this one. So while I put this back together, I'm going to explain my card count for everything, because this changed drastically for so many different things. So I'll start with the big thing, because lead and Teus never changed. Those were always 3 Teus, 1 lead. One thing that I was trying for a while was for Megalo, I wanted to cut it down to 2. The reason I tried that is because I look a lot at the OCG builds, and more so this format, because aside from them having 3-axis Fire Fist and the 4-axis Fire Fist, just like with the exclusives, as well as them having some things that Mermail has over there that we don't, like Armor Kappa and Fishboard Archer, the meta is more or less the exact same for like the first time ever. And I saw a lot of OCG builds dropping Megalo to 2, and I was like, well, I guess that makes sense, because it's a really horrible top deck late game when you probably have a low count in your hand. So, and I was like, and I had also at this point dropped Sphere and Lyn to 2, which I'll get to later. And I was like, well, maybe I don't need 3 Megalo. And I tried it, and then like I was just, after I'd made all these changes, I realized it's like I was not getting the hand, like the great hands I was getting before, and I was trying to figure out what had happened. And then like just tonight, I realized it's part of it was just like if I didn't open Megalo, things would go wrong. It's like Megalo just sets up so much for this deck that I feel like he really is necessary at 3, so that's why I put him back at 3. And then the Mermails, like the rest of the Mermails, like the little ones, changed up a lot. Gund always stayed the same. I always kept 2 of her. I did consider dropping her to 1 at a few points, but nah, I don't think, like maybe drop her to 1, but at the same time she is still really, really good. For Pike and Land, Pike I kept at 3 for a while. I eventually swapped 1 out for Sturge, because I felt that would be a nice late game card. And then after I realized in the late game I'm usually banishing all my waters for Tidal, I took Sturge out, but I never put the 3rd Pike back in, just because I wanted to see, because like late game Pike isn't the greatest, but so I wanted to see how it would do with 2. I eventually realized that, like Megalo, Pike is really great for setting up on turn 1, so you want to have the best chance of opening with him. So I put him back at 3. Lind is probably the one that's changed around the most, because in my last video I had 3 of her. I dropped her to 2, and I dropped Sphere to 2 because I realized that my hands that were the cloggiest were the ones where I opened with multiple Sphere or multiple Lind. Ideally, I don't want to open with either, because you want to keep Lind in the deck. And Sphere, while it's okay to open with, you generally have better choices because you can search Sphere anyway. So I dropped them both to 2. After a while, I realized, well, what if I dropped land to 1? Because, again, I saw the OCG doing that. And I decided to give it a shot, and I liked it. It was really nice. It's like you almost never drew land, so you could always get her off with the first sphere, and the second sphere you just use in a more tactical way, just like use them on your own main phase. And you run so few spell cards that it doesn't really matter anyway about the drawbacks of sphere. And I tried that for a while, and it was really nice. I eventually brought back land back to 2 because I realized that 1 works, but there are the advantages of having 2. Plus, I wanted to throw in another water just as the last space in my deck. And it's like, if you draw the 1 land, then you've got to use both of the spheres in a more dangerous way. And just 2 land is safer. And if you happen to draw a land, at least use fuel for another monster. So that's why I put land back at 2. The Atlanteans never changed. It was always 3 Dragoons, 3. Actually, in the last video, I only had 2 Marksmen and 2 Diva. I brought them both back to 3 just because they're a huge part of the OTK, which is like the Diva Megalo OTK. And while a good portion of our play involves setting up with Gaios and just sitting there, the OTK is still hugely important if you can pull it off when you go second. And for that reason, I decided to put Diva and Marksman back at 3. And plus, they eat... if your opponent's stupid and like Valor's a Teus or a Megalo to stop you from searching, you just drop the Diva and go off. Otherwise, they eat Valors that could hurt you in the long run anyway. Titles and streams never changed. It was always 3 and 2. I could see the logic behind running 1 stream. I still personally just prefer 1 just because it increases the chance of getting Tidal out, and Tidal is really vital to the deck working. As for the hand traps, I ran 2 of each in the last video. And then I ran 2 Breakthrough skill. Breakthrough is great against Evil Swarm, kinda. Actually, it's okay against Evil Swarm. Overall, I think Max C and Valor are more important than Breakthrough skill, because Breakthrough will help against Evil Swarm, but they can still stop it with like Pandemic or whatever, and that's even if it's in the graveyard, because it's still the effect of a trap card. So, overall, I think Valor and Max C are more important than Breakthrough skill, so I just max those out and put Breakthrough skill in the side deck. And then for Book of Moon, I did originally have Monster Reborn in here still also. It's just I ended up switching that out for Lyn because I felt that's more important to my strategy than that 1 random spell card that admittedly overpowered, but doesn't really help at the times I want it to. Book of Moon, however, I kind of view Book of Moon in the way I use it as a 7th hand trap, because like the best plays I have are the ones where I open Gaios and then I can sit on a Valor or a Max C. And against Dragon Ruler, that's just awesome because it stops my opponent from overpowering me, and they have to waste resources to stop me from doing this. And it's like I can kind of do that with Book of Moon also, because if they drop a Big Eye or they drop a Dragosack, I just activate Book of Moon and flip it face down. And it's like if I have that set with Gaios, then I'm golden. So that's why I like that. And that's why I kept Book of Moon. Honestly, I'm surprised I didn't realize why people were running Book of Moon before, because Book of Moon's just so good right now. And then 2 Sphere, I already explained why I dropped it to 2 from 3. I did consider putting it back at 3, and then I remember the hands I got with 3, and I was like, never mind. So, yeah. And that's the entire main deck. The extra deck really hasn't changed much aside from 1 card, and so... 2 Gaios, just because double Gaios is great too, and just having it more than once per game is important. Dragosack, the 1 card that changes, I managed to get a Big Eye, which is I'm just using it for my team because Shapeworks had 3. He honestly never uses all 3, so I was like, well, he'll never use 3, just let me use 1 because I could use 1, and so he did. Abyss Dweller, Bahamut Shark. I mainly keep Bahamut Shark just because 1, it has 2600 attack, so that's one way to run over Ovion if I'm facing Evil Swarm, and also just because there are some instances where Abyss Dweller just doesn't work, because Abyss Dweller is best in the mirror match and against dragons. I mean, like if you're facing Prophecy or facing Evil Swarm, Bahamut Shark's a better choice anyway, so keep Bahamut Shark. And then also try it just to use with Bahamut Shark. And Leviathan Dragon. I took out Zen Mage just because there's no point in summoning it this format. This is going to be taken by Big Eye or whatever, or banished by Fade or anything. Colossal Fighter, this is for side deck card that probably, it's pretty obvious what it's for, but I gotta do it anyway later. Crimson Blader is too good this format. Scrap Dragon is if I need an alternate level 8. I've got Scrap Dragon. Gungnir is my level 7. Dueloran is my level 6. Katas is my level 5. And Armor is my level 4. And that's the extra deck. The side deck, I guess it's changed considerably. Okay. The first thing I did do, I took Droll and Lockbird out completely. Because in terms of matchups for Mermail, Dragon is only a slight disadvantage because it comes down to can you make a setup and maintain it before they do, or can you or if they set up before you do, can you fight back? It's like Dragon's probably Mermail's easiest matchup this format. Evil Swarm is extremely difficult because it's Evil Swarm and the way they function. If you can't stop them from setting up and you can't get rid of that setup, then you're gonna lose. And Prophecy is a lost cause. Pretty much, it's like Prophecy, I see it as the Inzektor of this format, like compared to like March 2012. Inzektor, it's like the reason that was such the tier 1 gap between like tier 1 and tier 2 was so huge, that format, was because anything that could challenge Dino Rabbit got murdered by Inzektor. And the only thing that challenged Inzektor was Dino Rabbit. So it's like, that's where I say anything that can challenge Dragon Ruler gets murdered by Prophecy, and the only thing that challenges Prophecy is Dragon Ruler. So it's like you can see that it's like Evil Swarm's kind of dropping in popularity. It's like the Nats going on right now. The debate comes down to, is Dragon going to win or is Prophecy going to win? You never hear anything about Mermail. You never hear anything about Evil Swarm because everybody knows neither of them are going to win, unless there's like some massive upset. So most of this side deck is geared towards stopping Evil Swarm, because if I side properly for that, I still have the chance of beating it, whereas most of my stuff I side against Dragon is already in the main deck anyway, and that's a 3 Veil or 3 Max C, and then there's really not much point in siding a lot against Prophecy, because you're probably going to lose it anyway. So that's why I dropped Droll and Lockbird. So the monsters is 2 Aqua Spirit. These are 2 of the things I put in place of Droll and Lockbird, because if you get Dweller out against the mirror match or against Dragon Ruler, your chances of winning go up significantly, because for Dragon Ruler, it shuts down half of their plays, like half of their sources for plays, and if you get in the mirror match, you probably shut down the entire deck. So that's why I put Aqua Spirit in, because you summon Pike, or you summon Dragoons, and then you banish water, summon Aqua Spirit, there's your Dweller. And so Aqua Spirit, it's for Mirror and for Dragons. Electric Virus is for Dragons for Evil Swarm, because Dragons, you can either take a dragon they left on the board and make an Xyz with it, or you can take a Dragosack that they have, because Dragosack's a machine, and you make 2 tokens, and you tribute the Dragosack and destroy something on their side of the field. So that's why Electric Virus. And then Electric Virus against Evil Swarm, you take Ophion and you put Infestation Terminus in your hand, which I explained in the last video. You take the Ophion, search for Terminus. If you drew Terminus, you take the Ophion and you activate Terminus. So yeah. And then Heavy Storm and 3 MST. The Heavy Storm is mainly for Evil Swarm and any like rogue deck I run into that thinks it has a chance against the top decks, so it decided to enter the tournament for whatever reason, and then it's one of those decks that actually ran back row. So that's what Heavy Storm is for. MST is for Evil Swarm rogue decks, Game 3 and Mermail, like the mirror match, because this will stop Sphere, and then it'll also stop like Soul Drain, Imperial Iron Wall. Like, Iron Wall doesn't hurt me that much. Like, it stops Tidal, but that's about it. And yeah, and then 2 Breakthrough Skills for Evil Swarm, and then the last card is 3 Eradicator Epic Diamond Virus, which is the only thing I side in against Prophecy, and that's what Colossal Fighter is for, because you can bring out Big Eye, you can bring out Colossal Fighter, and both of them are fuel for Eradicator. So if you have ways to make a rank 7, you make Big Eye, you set the Eradicator, and you win, or if you open a level 7 of a Veiler, you play this at level 7, you play the Veiler, you make Colossal Fighter, and you make Eradicator. The way I would side against each of the top decks, against the top 4, for Dragon, I would just side in the 3 Virus and the 2 Aqua Spirit, and that's it. For Prophecy, it would just be the 3 Virus, nothing else. For For Evil Swarm's where I side in the most, because I would side in the 3 Virus, the 3 MST, the 2 Breakthrough, the Infestation Terminus, and the Heavy Storm. That's 10, and that might seem a lot to side in, but against Evil Swarm, neither of the hand traps, Valor or Maxi, are particularly helpful by a lot, so I just side those out, and then I just need to find 4 other cards to take out, and that's how you side against Evil Swarm. And then the mirror match, you just side in 3 MST and 2 Aqua Spirit. And that's pretty much how it goes. And yeah, that's the entire deck. Like I said, it's probably not going to change much anymore just for the rest of the format. Honestly, at this point, I'm just waiting for the format to end because Nationals this weekend, World, and then after that is World. I'm obviously not at Nationals. I'm not going to make it to World. So honestly, I'm just sitting around at my locals having fun with my friends. Just been doing Battle Pack. I've built like random tier 2 decks, tier 3 decks like Hero, Chain Beat, and it's just I'm having fun with those. I keep Mermail together in case I just feel like having a game with Mermail, but yeah, this format's just winding down. My final opinion of the format, it wasn't as bad as Mars 2012. I still firmly believe that Mars 2012 was way worse than this, but this format's getting pretty bad, in my opinion. It's not fun. This is like you Dragon Derps or Prophecy Derps, and it's like you can stop it, but you better hope you have what you need to stop it, because if you let it go, you're probably lost. So that's just my opinion. Maybe it's because I don't run either of those. Although frankly, when I run Prophecy, I don't really have a lot of fun either, because I feel like I'm face rolling my opponent. Yeah. So that's just my opinion. I'm just waiting for this format to wind down. And yeah, that's about it. So yeah, I have a bunch of other deck profiles I'm thinking about working on. I just need to get everything from them. I've got a hero deck complete. The only thing it's missing is Super Poly, and honestly, I don't think I need that. So I'm going to do a deck profile for Hero. Hero is one of the decks I'm thinking of running next format. Next format, I honestly don't know what I'm going to run, because just there's so many decks that are interesting to me right now. It's like I could just go off on a whole list of decks that I think could be good next format, but that's just a bunch of predictions, so I don't know. I might do the Hero deck profile. I did mention the Chain Beat deck. That is probably the most amazingly fun stun deck I have ever played, and I would consider doing a deck profile for that. It's just I'm missing one card that's incredibly important for it, and that's Evil Swarm Thunderbird. It's just without that, there's really not much of a point in running the deck, so I need to get that first. And yeah, that's pretty much. Just wanted to do the Mermail deck one more time. So yeah, we'll just see what happens next format. So thanks for watching YouTube, and I'll see you next time. Deuces.